If you've bought or have invested in a dropshipping course, I have some really bad news for you. It's more than likely that you're not going to get rich. And if you don't believe me, Shopify just released a statistic that 90% of businesses started with dropshipping schemes or tactics don't usually surpass the 3 month mark. And you may be thinking right now, okay, yeah, well, dropshipping isn't really a long term type of business. But the truth of the matter is, from my personal experience, that it usually takes a lot longer for you to get any of the income back or any actual profit. And despite this being a very well known fact, there's still thousands and thousands of influencers promoting and pushing their dropshipping course. But in reality, all you're really paying for is a premium Shopify tutorial. And I can tell you this because I myself have invested a lot in a lot of these dropshipping courses, and I have very little to minimal skills to actually show for them. So you may be asking, okay, well, I want to level up. I want to learn everything that I can about business. So if it's not dropshipping, or if it's not these courses that you would suggest, then what do you suggest? And to that, of course, there's a very unique situation for every person. But to the very core, you need to understand that if you're going to be successful in any business venture, you need to become proficient at a lot of these different areas. And of course, you can debate on this and you can tell me that you could outsource or you can hire cheaper labor through Fiverr. But the reality is that if you do end up disconnecting from that person, or if you end up losing the outsourcing material, and when the rubber meets the road and it's time for you to actually start providing the same results, it's going to be a huge learning curve and you're not going to be able to learn fast enough because you're going to be in a state of panic. So before you venture out on anything, what I would really recommend you to do is first try to learn as much as you can for free. Like I said, most of these courses are charging to around $500 to $1,000 for a premium Shopify tutorial. And there's plenty of tutorials that I've seen on YouTube that are actually a lot better than a lot of these gurus are pushing out. And it's completely for free on YouTube. The only thing is that you do need to dedicate a lot of time to it because you need to get used to and familiar with a lot of the tools that Shopify does have. And just because I'm knocking on dropshipping, I don't want to give the misconception that I hate Shopify in any way, shape, or form. I think it's a very user-friendly platform, and if you already have something in mind where you can either manufacture the product yourself or you can actually start a business on a service that you've been looking to get into for a while, then Shopify is the best starting point. But with that said, like I said, what type of courses should you be looking into, or what type of, because I mean, we've all heard it before. If you're going to invest in anything, you should invest in yourself. But you also need to be very, very, very vigilant about the way you invest in yourself. And to kind of like shortcut a lot of the learning curves and to kind of save you as much time and money as possible, I kind of want to give you like this little mindset or this perception so that you can kind of gauge if a course is worth it or not. So the first step that you're going to do is you're going to start to look at the fundamentals of any business. You need to learn, of course, these are just off of the top of my head. I'm more than sure that there's more. But you need to learn accounting. You need to learn how to give value propositions. You need to learn how to copyright. You need to learn how to create video content. And more than likely, you're going to need to learn how to actually edit and design a lot of stuff. If there's a course that can show you the basics or the fundamentals for this and basically shortcut like your learning process, then by all means invest in it. But you shouldn't be investing in a certain type of business that hasn't been viable for more than 10 years. The second step that you should take is that this is completely optional, but what I do recommend that you do is try to learn as much as you can by actually applying the information. Now, there's been time and time again where I purchased a course, and of course, like $500 isn't a little bit of money for me. But regardless, for some reason, it takes me forever to actually get through the content. So what I would really recommend you to do is to actually see if you can stick with it first. If you're going to take a copywriting course, try to see how much you can learn about copy through free resources and by actually applying it for like at least a couple of weeks to see if it's something that you want to actually engage in. Because if you purchase the course first and in the middle of the course you realize that this isn't something that you want to keep on investing in, not only did you just waste the time that you could have saved, like probably like investigating a little bit more, but now you're $500 to $1,000 in the hole, something that you could have used for your future business. And of course, what I've seen time and time again, and I want to like clarify this as soon as possible because I don't want you to be in the situation that I was in a couple of weeks ago or a couple of years ago. And that's simply that most of the information that you're going to see in a lot of these seminars and a lot of these high ticket courses, you can find them in books. And I love Russell Brunson. He's a really good marketer. There's a lot of good information that he does give out. But what I've seen time and time again is that he usually rehashes a lot of the same information and he just puts a new package on it, which is completely fine if you're trying to make money, right? But the thing is that a lot of the information that he gives it can literally be found in most of the books that he's either written or in books that he's kind of promoting a lot, like in Think and Grow Rich, in a lot of Dan Kennedy's books, and the Expert Secrets that he has. With that said, of course, I'm going to suggest that you read as many good books. And when I say good books, I say good books because there's a lot of like different authors out there that are just looking to make a quick buck. So you need to verify this by seeing the amount of Amazon reviews that they have and to see if there's any like credibility to this author. The biggest authors that I can give you right now, even though I was kind of like knocking on him earlier, is Russell Brunson, Dan Kennedy, and Alex Hormozi. If you're trying to get it proficient at any business, these are the three people that I really think you should start with, especially Alex Hormozi. The next step is, or the next step that I basically want to cover with you guys is simply going over how to read a book. Now, the way that I usually go about reading a book, because I used to be the type of guy that would just speed run through a lot of books. I took multiple speed reading courses just to try to get as much information as possible. But what I found at the end, like after reading 100+ books, and I'm not exaggerating when I say that, I took like a couple of months just right after work. I would read for 2 to 3 hours just to try to get back to onto the next book and onto the next book and onto the next book. I wasn't taking any notes. I wasn't actually like digesting the information. And to be honest, I didn't understand half of it. And the reason being is because I didn't actually take the time to see the context of the book overall. So with that, you're going to take the book and you're going to look at the table of contents. Now, of course, I'm only using this because I have this right here in my little book holder. But I want to show you guys right here that every book, obviously, like if you've gone through elementary, they're going to have its table of contents. So you're going to take a quick look at every single chapter to kind of gauge how the book is kind of placed. Now, of course, it kind of shows you that it's divided into sections, and it gives you like the section of every area. And of course, I'm always gonna talk about Alex Hormozi in these videos. So you're gonna look at the table of contents. You're gonna look at the table of contents and basically get the skeleton of the book overall. Once you get like a good grasp of what the book is gonna be about and the way it's kind of shaped, you're gonna read it for the first time. And of course, if you can invest in this, try to invest in the audiobook as well. Usually when I do buy a book and I really think it's worth its money or it's worth its salt, I do recommend that you buy the audio version as well, simply because I like to sit down and read and listen to the book at the same time. It just helps me retain a lot more information, and there's been studies to back this up. But yeah, if you're gonna read a book and if it's a really good book like this one, invest in the audio version as well. And at first, honestly, like I did feel some friction, but the way I would always justify this is I've already invested over $500, over thousands of dollars in other courses that really didn't show me much. So a couple of 10, 12 bucks to actually get the audio version and to help me retain as much information from this book is gonna be way more valuable than the $1,000 course. So you're gonna read it for the first time, and in my desk I always have 2 different ink pens. So I always have these 2. I mean, it doesn't really matter which type you have. I like these because they're felt tip, so it doesn't bleed through. I like the way it feels. I like the way they write. But for the first time, you're gonna underline everything, and you're gonna try to make annotations with the black pen. And if you're scared to write into your book, like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, it literally, this is what books are made for. They're yours. So unless it's in a library book, then by all means, just make notes on the side, on like on a legal pad or something. I also have my like little composition notebook for that. But basically, you're gonna try to write as much important information as you can. And with that, every time you make a little annotation, a lot of people usually tend to forget. But since I am kind of like in the middle of reading this right now, in the front cover, I try to write the pages where I either underline something or whether I wrote something, so I know that it's important. So in the future, when you need to like, okay, kind of get like a rough overview of what you thought was important, then you're gonna quickly see that you already have your own like little guide of what was important to you. So you're gonna read this, you're gonna let it marinate, you're gonna leave it alone for a while, and then you're gonna come back and you're gonna read it again, and then you're gonna underline what you think it's important the second time, but with the blue pen. And what this does essentially, it's basically gonna give you an upper advantage over everybody that already bought the book. And the way I look about this is, I think it was in this book, but only like around 10% of actual readers get past the first chapter. And so that in my head, I'm like, all right, well, I'm already ahead of 90% of the crowd. So what can I do to actually put me ahead of the last 10%? So make me 10% of the 10%. So in my head, I kind of started going over like, all right, yeah, so what I'm gonna do to be able to put myself to further understand this a lot more than the people that read it once, I'm actually gonna sit down and I'm gonna take notes and I'm gonna reread it and reread it and reread it 3 times. Now the third time, of course, you're gonna take a quick look and just look at everything that you underlined. You're gonna just speed run through it, and you're gonna carry this book with you for around a month. I used to do it for 2 months, but it just takes forever. And a lot of the information, like once you already read it for the third time and you've already like you've paired it with the audio, it's really easy for you to kind of remember everything that it's gonna go over. But man, like honestly, like the amount of value that I got from this alone, like from this information, like from doing this with every single book, like it's very profound. Like there's no other way that I can explain it. But I also started looking into like the same course that this book is based off of, and I 100% believe that the experience of me actually rereading books 3 times in a row and actually trying to wait and understand and take my own notes and actually get involved with the book is a much more beneficial experience for my understanding. And it basically just, I don't know, like it just gives you like, it just gives you a different perspective on it overall, like once you're already that familiar with the book. So in essence, you're basically going to keep on looking for books that are going to keep on leveling you up and are going to give you the possibility of increasing your earning capacity. And yeah, well, that's basically the like kind of like my little like the little method that I look. I try to write down everything that I can on a piece of notebook paper or anywhere that I can, and I try to list all the skills. Now, like I said, since I'm trying to kind of like speak fluidly throughout the video, I'm only gonna recommend like what comes off of the top of my head. So it's like content creation, copywriting, accounting, value propositions, or coming up with really good values, marketing. And once you get into this, you're gonna start to quickly see that although it does sound like a very specific category in itself, every single category has 3 or 4 different other subcategories. And it basically just, I mean, just with time, I guess you just have to wait until you actually get familiar with all this stuff, and it isn't as attractive as it is like, oh yeah, well, if you take this course, I'll guarantee you get $10,000 within the first 6 months. I mean, I have seen on the internet like a lot of like positive case studies where they did make this happen and where a lot of people did make a lot of money doing this. But like in my day-to-day life, I really haven't seen that like in front of a lot of people. Like I really haven't seen like anybody in my immediate circle actually get successful with this. And I'm not sure if you guys noticed, or this is something that I started noticing recently, that a lot of the drop shipping YouTubers that were really famous at the time have kind of like all disappeared, or they've switched career fields. Of course, I'm not saying that drop shipping is a scam, because I have, like I said, like I have seen it work and I have seen it. I've had a little bit of success, but I don't think it's a viable business for you to actually think about it in a long term, on a long term basis. And yeah, so I know I'm kind of like, I just jumped into the rant. But basically, this is just like a little series that I'm doing. I'm trying to give you as much value as I can in the 20 minutes that I'm kind of recording. This is kind of like a little challenge that I made for myself. Of course, I'm not doing like the day 1 to $1 million or day 1 to 1 million subscribers. This is just me simply trying to get better in front of the camera, so I can further provide you with better and better messaging, or like better and better messages, so to give you like those golden nuggets where you can actually take action. Because a lot of the frustration that usually came from me making this channel or was simply that I did watch a lot of like those how to get rich videos, get rich in the next 6 months, how to start this X type of business, how to do this, and most of it was just fluff. Like there wasn't anything actionable that I could actually take and I could actually start applying on a day-to-day basis. And if you look at it, most of the information is very, very basic, and it's all the same. They usually go into mindful meditation, they go into early morning routines, they go into a lot of different things. And in all honesty, yeah, I did try it like for a really long time, but meditating didn't get me any closer to being wealthy. I mean, yeah, I do understand that like it does have its benefits, and of course, like people are gonna advocate for meditating and stuff. But in all honesty, if you look at this and you actually start like to think about your life, okay, how is it moving the needle? How is it actually getting me closer to my goal? Like it really doesn't make any sense to sit down and just think about your future, or just think about like, unless you're constantly taking action. And that's part of my biggest frustration. I mean, you can already see that I get kind of worked up about this. But any person that's telling you to meditate, or that, and you really haven't even passed $1,000 a month, like with online revenue. Of course, I know it's easy. You can get a job at McDonald's, but making $1,000 on online is a whole different beast. But if you haven't done that, then what's the point of you actually kind of like, okay, yeah, I need my 4 in the morning routine. I need to sit down and I need to meditate. Okay, I need to start removing plastics. I need to drink all my supplements. I mean, unless like your niche is in the fitness industry, there's really no point in you focusing like on all these little like aspects. It's basically just procrastinating. You're just mentally masturbating to a lot of these different tactics, and you're telling yourself and you're convincing yourself that, no, it's because I'm doing it because I'm becoming a better version of myself. Yeah, you are, but at the same time, you're staying very stagnant. So if you've been looking at these videos for more than 6 months and you're still in the same place you were 6 months ago, then what's the point? What's the point of still consuming this information? So in essence, like this is basically like my goal with these YouTube videos, is to basically provide you guys with as much value as possible. And not only that, but to actually provide you with actionable steps. And one of my goals is also going to be to like basically summarize this like at the very end. So I went on a rant about a lot of dropshipping courses and how much of a waste of money they are. And I'm gonna stand by that, because I really don't think that like you need to pay for a Shopify tutorial. What I do think is that you need to sit down and actually write down all the skills that are needed. Now, don't look into YouTube, don't look into anything else, because you're gonna fall into like that little whirlpool again, and it's just gonna suck you right back in, and you're gonna be back to square one trying to meditate your way to success. So just grab a piece of paper and start writing down all the skills that you need to be able to become successful in business. And start jotting down everybody that all the books that you're gonna read, and read them the way that I told you. Read them with the black ink pen, take notes. Read them with the blue ink pen, take notes again, and carry it with you for a month. You shouldn't be investing more than $500 if you haven't already made more than $1,000 online. So with that said, I know it sounds like very simple information, but trust me guys, if you've already made it this far, you need to apply this as soon as possible, because I wish somebody would have told me this way before. And yeah, I want to thank you guys for watching this far. And I'm basically like I said, I'm just trying to get more fluid with the camera. And yeah, thank you for watching.